Hello viewers, hello listeners. My name is Teacher Dennis, teacher of English. I teach the candidates. So today we are here to discuss more about English, and in particularly the subtopic that we are going to discuss is on subject-verb argument. So it will be very important to analyze that particular sentence, to know the meaning of subject and to know the meaning of verb, and obviously we all understand what we mean by an argument. An argument means to come together or in an consensus. So in that matter, allow me to just explain what we mean by a subject and what we mean by a verb. The subject means the doer of the action. The subject simply means the doer of the action, and then the verb means the action itself or the doing word. In an English sentence, for example, the boy walks to school. The boy walks to school. Now you find that the boy becomes the subject or the noun, and that subject can be represented by the noun or can be represented by the pronoun. Then walks is the verb, the action itself. Then school being the receiver of the action, and in that case we refer to it as the object. So we have to know how these two words are used together. That is, we have to know how the subject can be used together with the verb to make a correct English sentence. So when the subject and the verb match each other, when the subject and the verb match each other, we say that they have come to an agreement, or we say they have agreed. And that's why we are talking about subject verb agreement. Now, there are some rules that we need to put into consideration. There is a protocol that we need to observe when we are using, or rather when we are talking about subject verb agreement. Now, the first rule states that when you are using a singular verb is also supposed to be used together with a singular subject. So a singular subject is used in conjunction with a singular verb. For this case, in the sentence we gave out, it was the boy walks to school. So the boy, you find that the boy is a singular subject. The boy is a singular subject because it's a one item in that manner. So that means that the verb we are going to use in that particular sentence should also obey the rule which states that when using a singular subject, you are also supposed to use a singular, and when doing so, you have said that the subject and the verb, which is walks, and the subject, which is the boy, have come into an agreement because they match each other. Now, the big question is, how do they match each other? Now, in most cases, for you to realize that a verb is a singular verb, it is very simple. At the end of the verb initially the original verb was walk, but in this case we are saying walks. So you find that on the verb walk we have added letter S. So in most cases, whenever letter S is added to the main verbs, then you realize that becomes a singular verb. And that is, the boy being a singular verb goes with the singular, the boy, which is the singular noun, goes hand in hand with the singular verb walks in addition of an S. That one symbolizes that the verb used is singular. Finally, the last rule states that when the subject is plural, the verb used must also be plural. Now, in plural verbs, we have exemption of letter S at the end of the main verb. That one simply says that the verb is plural. And then, for example, in our case, you cannot say the boys walks to school. It is wrong. So, when we exempt an S, we make the verb to become a plural verb. Then the boys are, that one gives us the plural subject, the boys. There are many. The boys goes with walk. So you find that whenever you use a plural noun or a plural subject or a plural pronoun as they, you find that the verb used must be also be plural. And how do you know this? I repeat, with an exemption of letter S on the main verb. That one makes it to become a plural verb. So whenever we use a plural verb, we are also supposed to use a plural subject, a plural noun, or a plural pronoun. So in so doing, we say the two have matched, and then we finally conclude that they have come into an agreement. They have come into an agreement. Okay, just a point of giving further emphasis on subject-verb agreement. In most cases, in some instances, you realize that you are not given the main verbs in a sentence, or rather, you are given the helping verbs or auxiliary verbs. In that case, when you find there is an auxiliary verb, for examples, is, are, have, has, you realize that the auxiliary verbs also take the same direction. For example, is a helping verb. So whenever you see a helping verb is, that means it goes hand in hand with a singular subject, and you find is as a helping verb ends with the letter S. If it ends with letter S, then that simply means that the subject used must also be singular. For example, he is tall. He is tall. So he is a singular subject. He is a singular subject. Then is a helping verb which ends with an S. So that means all helping verbs which ends with an S qualifies to be used together or in conjunction with all singular subjects. They ought to be used together with all singular subjects. Another example of a singular helping auxiliary or auxiliary verb is has. She has gone to the kitchen. She has gone to the kitchen. She is a first person singular pronoun which stands in the name of a subject in that particular sentence. Then has is a helping verb. So it also ends with an S. That means has is a singular verb. She is a singular subject. In that case, has been represented by the pronoun. So it is very much important to understand. Now we have some rare cases whereby we don't necessarily need to have letter S to indicate the singular, the verb being singular. And in this case, it is just a rare case, and that is the verb am. The verb am. Am is a singular verb. It's a singular verb, and in this case, we can't see letter S at the end. So that is a rare case that we are talking about. Not all. Some few don't take letter S at the end. Otherwise, listeners, I appreciate so much for your listening. So subscribe to my channel, that is Dennis Ono. Just press subscribe, and then God bless you, God bless you, God bless you so much. And thank you for listening.